And now we get to the dysfunctional mess that is the Detroit Red Wings. They were busy this week issuing denials of a full-scale revolt within the team, a story published by one of the Detroit newspapers. When those stories start coming out, it's usually a sure sign that there are big problems within the team. Jack Barry of the Detroit Free Press had a good report on all the controversy surrounding the Detroit franchise. And it wasn't Jack's paper, by the way, that had the story about the revolt within the ranks in Detroit. Jack said that when he talked to Red Wings coach Ned Harkness just had the feeling that he was crucified in one of the accounts of the Red Wings 3-3 tie with the Pittsburgh Penguins a week previously. The story said that if the Red Wings are going to do anything this season, they'll have to fire their coach, and it claimed that there was almost open revolt within the team. The basis for that story was goalie Roy Edwards' comments after that tie, in which he said that he'd been playing way too much and he just couldn't go on that way, given the number of shots the Red Wings are giving up each game. Edwards gave up the tying goal on a rebound with just 2 minutes and 3 seconds left in the game. Edwards said, "I can't believe that write-up. There's not a damn bit of truth to it." Roy went on to say that he was completely flabbergasted by the report. It sounded like it made him leading a rebellion, and Roy said that was the furthest thing from the truth. Roy's quote was, "I'm 100% for Ned, and I think the rest of the guys are too," which of course is the exact right thing to say by the goalkeeper whose loyalty to his coach is being questioned. Edwards was tired, but according to Ned Harkness, it was the consensus of, quote, everybody in the Red Wings organization that Edwards should be playing against Pittsburgh. Harkness said we needed to put two wins together, and backup Jim Rutherford had just played 34 games in his rookie pro season last year and only one this year, so he probably wasn't going to be up to the task. So one might question Harkness, saying, well, Rutherford's got to play. Edwards can't go on like this. When's he going to play? Ned says we figured to work Rutherford in the games out on the West Coast. They start a 5-game road trip coming up this following week, Thursday in St. Louis. Harkness thinks his team was working very hard, but as he said, it's just like what the World Series was in 1970. You can hit the ball like it's going out of the park, and then Brooks Robinson grabs it, and there's nothing you can do about that. He says that's the kind of goalkeeping we've been going against. Everybody's playing like world beaters against the Red Wings. Not the players' fault. It's those damn other great goalies. Well, Jack Barry asked Harkness if he'd talked to Bruce Norris. He said he had, and he asked Norris, gave him a vote of confidence, and Harkness said he didn't need a vote of confidence. Ned's response was, "I'm confident of myself. My shoulders are broad, and I've been in the ring before. As for the booze, the people don't bother me. They paid to get in, and that's their right. They just want to see us win. And so do the players, Ned." The very next day, the Toronto Star ran a large story. No byline, though, just special to the Star. So it's one of those contract writers in other NHL cities, possibly even Jack Barry, that submitted this story to Toronto, the Toronto paper. And it described the Red Wings owner Bruce Norris' reaction to the published reports of the dissension and open revolt within the club. Now, in a scrum outside of the Detroit dressing room after a game, he was asked about the rumors of open revolt within the team, and Norris, 6'4" multimillionaire, shouted at the reporter, "I should jolt you one in the head. And if I were the other guy," referring to Coach Ned Harkness, "I wouldn't blame him if he jolted you one in the head as well." Norris was literally livid with rage for the report in the Detroit paper that said the players were revolting, as we had Jack Barry describe it above. Norris actually held a meeting with Red Wing players with Harkness and with general manager Sid Abel, and it's believed to be the first time a meeting of that type had ever been held in the entire history of the Detroit Hockey Club. The scene in the corridor that we just talked about with Norris's quotes happened after the 30-minute meeting with Sid Abel and the rest of the guys. Asked what had taken place in the meeting, Norris shouted, "You newspapermen have cost me a lot of money today. I had to fly here and leave my business." He went on to say, "As for what went on, it's none of your damn business. You'll print what you want to write anyway." That's when Norris threatened to jolt the reporter, but the reporter, to his credit, persisted in asking what had happened at the meeting, and Norris just turned around and said, "Who said there was any meeting?" The reporter's reply was, "Pretty obvious you had a meeting. We've been waiting all out here for you." So Norris said, "You obviously know more about it, what's going on here, than I do." "I obviously did nothing of the sort. It's you who are saying that." And then the reporter asked Norris, "Well, why did you come here anyway?" Norris's reply, "Do I need your permission to come into this building?" Following that angry exchange, there was no one who was at the meeting that would make a comment on what might have happened. There was one exception. A veteran player whose name was not reported simply said it wasn't a very exciting meeting. And that probably describes most meetings between owners, general managers, coaches, and players. Nobody's going to want to say anything to the guy who underwrites all the costs. There was one notable absentee in the meeting, and I found this really interesting when I read the stories back at that time. That was Jim Bishop, who is now known as the executive director of the Detroit Red Wings. Bishop, who's a former successful lacrosse coach from Oshawa, Ontario, he was actually that until he vaulted into this Detroit job in an inexplicable manner a year and a half previously, did not make an appearance. So you could guess that maybe he's not in the loop, he's not an influential player, or it seems that everybody on the team, players, coach, and GM, are in trouble. And the only guy who Norris is not blaming for all this is Jim Bishop. Bishop has too much influence in this Detroit organization, and it will not end well for him or the team. Mark my words on that one.